Good evening. So, I am going to do a design of this character here. For those of you who have no idea who this is and what this is from, which is probably the vast majority of my audience, if you're here and you do know who this is, then you're probably a newcomer, not somebody who follows my work regularly. Um, but my daughter plays this game called Dandy's World, and it's this kind of fun little horror game that's on Roblox. And so I told her I would love to do a little fan art of one of her favorite characters in kind of my style. Since it's horror, I'm going to make it terrifying. For those of you who know nothing of this, nor care nothing of this, too bad. You're going to have to witness the greatness of my ability to transform such a cute looking character to a potentially terrifying monster. One of the things that tends to be overlooked while people are building portfolios is the concept of building quote unquote fan art, because I think it's kind of looked down on, right? It's frowned upon amongst the artiste with an apostrophe over the I, or what other characters is in the word artiste, e, yeah, over the I or the e, right? And I think that's unfair because fan art ultimately, if done really well and explored in fascinating ways, can actually be incredibly interesting. Um, and also demonstrate something that I don't think people realize. It can also demonstrate your ability to essentially concept art. Let me explain. So when you are doing fan art and you're just kind of copying what the original art is, then yeah, you're not really kind of exploring anything new. But if you're trying to do kind of what I'm doing, like a reimagining, what if it was a live action horror film? What if it was put into a popular TV franchise like Game of Thrones? Now, now you're talking. Now you're doing something that elevates it. And that elevation is ultimately like the kind of stuff you'll end up doing in real jobs potentially. Let me give you a couple examples. So I did some stuff for Sonic the Hedgehog, and I did some stuff for Sonic the Hedgehog, and for StarCraft, for League of Legends, and X-Men. What else? Warcraft. Okay, that's a good amount. So I did all these really cool concepts for these projects, but it was like I was concepting things that already existed, but just like in this new context. Like, what if the character is this, or what if it's a live action thing? Like, for instance, Sonic. I did the Robotnik robots, drones. That's cool, but I had to like help design and reimagine them for live action because that didn't exist. But I uh, essentially created official fan art. It was like paid for fan art. And I think that when you think of it this way, then it becomes very clear how powerful fan art is, because what you're able to demonstrate is an established IP, your interpretation of it, and showing it to other people demonstrates competency. It demonstrates that you're able to potentially do this for their projects. You know what I mean? Five Nights at Freddy got made into a live action film. I'm sure they hired some of my good friends and colleagues to work on the Freddy designs. You know, the Fazbears, the animatronics. You know, granted, Five Nights at Freddy already had some pretty good um, idea of what a live action version of it, because it was already kind of more real than it wasn't. Um, but Minecraft isn't, and they made like live action. So there was somebody, like probably someone I know, who designed like the block versions of those characters, right? And so this isn't too far off of what I can imagine I would have to be able to do for a client, you know? And I've worked on some projects, and I'm working on projects currently as we speak that are clearly established IPs. Yeah, see, I'm trying to think of a creepy way to do the eyes here. Let me come back to that. I'll come back to that in just a second. Because part of me wants to do it quite literal, but I think I have an interesting idea. Let me ponder that for a second. And so, yeah, I think when people start to understand the premise of what concept art is and can be, then you'll start to understand that that's ultimately advanced fan art, like elevated fan art. And so if you can find yourself trying to reinvent a popular kids show or a popular TV show or popular IP or franchise, or maybe not a very popular, maybe an indie franchise or indie project, and reimagine it, you'll be surprised how far that'll take you. I remember I did this fan art reimagining of a video game called Robot Unicorn Attack. I loved that game a lot. It was hilarious. The music in that game made me crack up. Me and my close friends would play it while we were like working, and I was like, "This is how I feel about this game when I play." And I did like this fun little splash art that felt really 80s. And the the cool thing that ended up happening is that Adult Swim eventually reached out to me and had me work on the official game splash art because of that splash art, you know? And you hear stories like that all the time. I know when I was working at Blizzard, we hired so many artists who were just clearly just fans of the Blizzard franchise, and gave them opportunities because of it, because of how well they were able to portray some of the most popular um, characters and creatures from Warcraft or Blizzard, or so I'm sorry, from Warcraft or Starcraft or whatever. And speaking of Starcraft, I remember when I was working on. Sorry, I'm like trying to think about how to make this even more disgusting. When I was working on Starcraft, and I was like redesigning the Zealots and the High Templars and the Archon, and just getting excited about the fact that I was already a fan of these IPs, and now I'm making the official artwork. This is kind of what made me realize like I'm essentially doing fan art officially, because I was a huge fan. I would have probably done this stuff on my own at some point if given enough time, right? And so part of that journey in my life as a concept artist was really awesome, and I'm very grateful for it because it really made me have this opportunity to work on one of my favorite game franchises, and it was super cool. But I'm just using that as an example of like, yeah, like look how I was able to be able to work on something that I probably would have done if I had just time and wanted to make some cool concepts in fan art. Like I probably would have redesigned the Zealot. In fact, even now that I'm talking about this, I'm just like, God, I would have loved to redesign even some more of the stuff from that game, because I really do love StarCraft. It's like I would have loved to reimagine the Hydralisk, the Dark Templars, even like, damn, that sounds tight. Even now that I'm saying that, I'm like, now that I'm doing these YouTube videos, it's like, okay, maybe I will actually do that. I might very much do that. And so you can see, like, I'm doing this. Listen, I don't think this would be approved by the makers of the game because this is a little too on the nose. Like if they were to ever make a live action film, I don't think this was ever their intention to make it this gritty. I'm sure they would appreciate it though. I'm sure if they saw this, they'd be like, "Damn, this is cool." I can imagine I would feel that way if I saw people. I mean, I've seen people do 3D models of some of my concepts, and it's always super awesome to see. Um, but even if I was like art directing a project, I'd be like, "Yeah, we're not going this far." But because I'm not really attached to anything. I'm just doing this for fun. I can make it as crazy as I like. You know what I mean? This is pretty weird. I'm super excited to see what my daughter thinks of this in the morning. Because I told her, hey, I'm gonna stream tonight, or I'm gonna record tonight. I'm gonna do some fan art of one of these characters. Give me a character to do. She's like, yeah, let's do this one. She's like, I gotta tell you, the character's a game show host, so keep that in mind. So I gotta bring back the mic somehow. Here, we'll do it this way. We'll have it kind of like dangling, almost like an anglerfish. You know, my daughter actually does some fan art of this project, and it's more along the lines of what it looks, but just like a little bit cooler. Like she draws it a lot cooler, a little bit more with some tooth to it. I wouldn't say as like dark or terrifying is what I'm trying to do, but it's like it's cool. It's like well drawn versions of these characters. Kind of like there's another artist on YouTube that she likes that is similar to that type of vibe and aesthetic. Um, Maybe I can ask her if she can show me some of the stuff and I can share it with you guys. It's really good. And maybe you guys could follow her on YouTube. She started her own little YouTube channel, her little own art YouTube channel, but I'm trying to also just let her kind of build it. But anyway, yeah, this is super fun to do. I don't know why I made this little microphone so shiny. I think it's I just wanted to make it stand out more. But it's kind of the deal with microphones. They're just a little bit more matte. Maybe I can find other ways to give it some color. Maybe like, oh, I just noticed this red line. I wonder if that line is like coming out of the. Okay, so this is how I'm going to do the face. I am going to do the face like this. I gotta stylize it just a scooch so it looks more terrifying. Can't be identical. And again, this is my interpretation. It's not an exact copy, but I think that's okay. And then the red is cool. Whoops. That's the wrong button. I think that's okay for now because it's going to be. All right, let's see what we got here. Style. I rarely use these stuff, but I think we can get some fun stuff here. Pixelate. Which was the one? Fragment? No. Filter. Pixelate. Crystallize? I don't see any difference. Let's try one more, and if I can't do it, it's not that big of a deal. I don't feel like any of these are right. Let's try this one. Okay, I'm okay with this one. I don't think this is exactly what I was looking for, but you live and you learn. And then what I'll probably do here is do a couple things. Okay, so we got that. Let's put color dodge, linear dodge. And now we can do a little bit of blur to give it a bit of a bloom. And then we'll put that on top of it. Okay, so far we're cooking here. There's another thing that I can do, which I think I'll be able to do once I get this on. So let's just get this on for now. And I'm not really too worried about perfect perspective here, so this should work just fine. And then we'll take a piece of the background here and we'll throw on a noise filter, homies. Yeah, let's get it nice and grimy. Okay, cool. And I'm gonna probably scale it up a little bit. And I'm gonna keep it pretty aggressive for now, because I just need to see how it will look as I carve away. So I don't need the edges to be crisp here. Or perfect, I mean. You can soften them. Just a bit of this. Smudge. And that should be good. And then we'll just kind of just start to throw on effects. Like let's try some stuff. Let's go. Oh, that already feels great. Color dodge. But it feels too realistic, actually. It felt a little too much like it already looked like a TV screen. And I think soft light is the winner. So I want something that's not so noticeable. And so we can crank this up just a scooch more. And just for the sake of safety here, I'm just gonna make a new layer group and I'll just work from there. Because normally I just work on one layer when I'm doing these videos. I'm not trying to not trying to do production artwork or nothing. Just trying to make something cool short amount of time. So let's just add some more stuff and clean this up. Yeah, but I remember I did this one fan art a long time ago of Super Mario Brothers, and it like blew up on Reddit. Like there was like 1 million views on it. It was crazy. I remember I did like a Smash Brothers thing, and that did really well. And so it's just there's something about fan art that always holds a special place in my heart. I remember I did like a while ago some cool stuff with Hellboy and Street Fighter, and just always did really well. And I've always had an appreciation for doing it. And I told myself if I get a good wind of time again, which I do now, maybe try something. A buddy of mine was trying to give me some advice on some videos I should do. He's probably watching right now. What's up, Dave? And one thing he did is like, like AI is a really good tool to generate some ideas. And he sent me a couple ideas. But there was some there that I thought, okay, I could see that. Because he was using ChatGPT. But I was explaining to him that part of the video that I did just like a day ago, where I was talking about this, is that it lacks like pragmatism and nuance, because some of the topics are just kind of like how to find a motivation to be an artist, or how to take inspiration from the world, like these things that feel relatively agnostic, in terms of what it really means to do art meaningfully. It doesn't seem practical either, right? Like how can I bestow upon you my personal experience and feelings while I'm making an art piece that you can take with you, a lot of the advice I usually give is contextual. I need to know more about the person I'm talking to give them the kinds of feedback that they need. You know what I mean? And I find that whenever people are so um, hell bent on like a perfect way to explain um, how to improve in their work or how to improve, generally speaking, to all the people that they're reaching out to, because as a consequence of like YouTube algorithm, for instance, like it just the videos that say, hey, how to draw hands or 20 minutes in you'll be able to draw anything. It's so attractive because it's like, yeah, I want to be able to just be able to draw anything in 20 minutes, but it's like that's just not how it works, and it's not incredibly useful advice in the long term. It's just algorithmically. Oh my god, I can't even spell, dude, or speak. I think I tried to do this one time in class, and I still didn't do it. The algorithm is always looking for what's getting the most clicks. And unfortunately for all of us, real advice and real knowledge tends to not get as much views and likes. And I don't expect this as much from even what I'm doing. Maybe this will do well because it's literally fan art. But outside of that, the advice that you would get if it was just outside of like the context of some sort of clickbait, it just tends to not do incredibly well. In fact, the advice I just gave, I gave like a video about art block, and that did really well in terms of the reception. Lots of people, I've been getting messages and comments, so there's a lot of value for the people that watched it, but it's not doing as well as, let's say, the AI, which is a little bit more controversial. And my intentions are not to do that either, by the way, which is to chase that. I am going to just make whatever I want to talk about. And whatever does well, does well. Whatever doesn't, doesn't. Because I know that when I'm scouring the internet for new knowledge and information, and I see that a video has a pretty good like ratio, but very few views in comparison to like a very clickbaity video, like it's like how to do this in this software versus like this is why you should do this in this software, which is usually what I care more about. Those videos don't do nearly as well, but I have a strong understanding that they're going to give me some nuggets. I remember I watched this one video from this one tutorial. I can't remember the exact name of the tutorial, but I remember just coming out of that tutorial. I think I was like learning programming or something. And the way that this guy was explaining programming and like how to think through it was so incredible. I was just like, damn, I totally get it. But then like had like 20,000 views. And I'm just thinking, damn, man. Like this is why people have a hard time becoming great, because they're not looking for videos like this, because the other videos are doing much better. And yeah, I find myself doing that even still, like where I might fall into that trap. Oh, I remember I've been getting into weightlifting, and I was watching this video and I was really getting into it, and then it had like 300 views, and I was just like, oh, maybe this isn't as good, maybe it's just like not good quality. But then I just like stopped myself and I was like, wait, why am I even saying that? Like as I'm watching this, I was just like, oh, that's a really interesting point. But there was something fishy about it. Maybe like I was like the quality of it wasn't the best. So I was just like, oh, okay, maybe I should go somewhere else. But honestly, it was valuable. I was getting something out of it. So I don't know why for half a moment I was just kind of distracted and was not encouraged to want to watch any more of it. It was so funny. It's just such subtle nuances in our human behavior that makes us judge and question things too abruptly. But yeah, I get real giddy if I find a video that doesn't have nearly as many views but has tons and tons of likes, because there's gonna be probably some golden nuggets that are being said. But then I'm also happy because it's like not a lot of people are going to watch this, because it's just not as quote unquote entertaining versus its educational value. It's incredibly educational, you know? And so Anyway, I have no idea how well, how poorly will this will do, but my goal is to do something pretty consistently. Just, I have some feelings about how I did the arms here, but I noticed like this arm's like all a little like wonky 3D, and then these legs like probably could have done more with this like ink stuff for sure, right? I probably should not bail just yet. Let me get some ink stuff in here, because that's cool. And then there's some ink stuff like on the other leg in the background. We'll just do a little bit, so it's not completely off the mark. But that should be good for now. I don't need to divest any further. Again, this is not a franchise that I'm immediately in love with. I don't play the game nearly as much as my daughter and my son, but I love my daughter and I love my son, and I thought this would be a cool thing to do. Get some cool points from my daughter that I love very, very much, and also make good of trying to do something pretty regularly on this channel. Anyway, if you know the franchise and you're like, ah, this is great, cool. If you do not know anything about this franchise, then you're welcome. Now you know. Have a good night.